Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist. Welcome to the university. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Grand Traverse. My name is Renee Russell, and I am a member of the Sunday Services Committee. And welcome to those of you who are joining us via live stream, and those who are here in our sanctuary. If you are visiting or you are new to our congregation, and if you are comfortable and able, we invite you to stand and introduce yourself. Do we have anybody who would like to do that? Anyone new? Right here. Stand up. Chris is going to bring you a mic so those at home can hear you.
My name is Sue Wachter, and we actually are members of the Presbyterian Church, but we came to hear our daughter.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And I'm John.
Welcome. Anyone else?
Stand up. I can see stand up.
I'm Gary Lawrenson from the Unitarian Church in Iowa City, Iowa.
Wonderful.
I come here once or twice a year to visit my daughter, Kate, and this year we have a bonus. The other daughter is here too. So we almost have all the grandkids in one place, but not quite.
Oh, fantastic. Welcome. Anyone else? All right. Well, we invite you to join us for a beverage afterwards, and if you so choose, we have some yellow mugs which help us to identify you as a visitor. And we welcome you to our church of wide embrace and look forward to getting to know you. Sharing our joys and concerns with our beloved community helps us stay connected in caring and in celebration. For those of you in the sanctuary, the book for recording your joys and concerns is over here, right by the candles. You can enter your message there when you first arrive or anytime during the centering music. Your joys and concerns will be shared later in the service. As we start our service this morning, I invite you to set aside the distraction of your daily life, and please go ahead and turn off any electronic devices so that we might each bring our full attention to this time together. Thank you so much and welcome.
Good morning. My name is Lucy. It's good to be with you again this year. I think I was with you about this time last year, sometime in July. And it's really wonderful to be invited back, and I look forward to spending the next hour together. This morning, you've probably seen in the worship materials that I'd like to invite us to reflect on empathy today, especially when there's so much fear in our communities right now. And I'd like to open us today by simply connecting to the lived experience of that in our own bodies and the experience of having emotion as human beings. And so if you're willing to reveal to each other as a way of sort of grounding ourselves in our shared humanity here today, would you raise your hand if at any time in the last 6 months you have felt afraid? Yeah, just like look around and take that in. Raise your hand if you have felt helpless or hopeless. Raise your hand if you felt some kind of awe, maybe swimming in the bay, or walking through the forest, or picking strawberries. Raise your hand if you felt angry. Sad. Yeah, here we are together. Yeah. Take in that we're with each other in this. We can share all of this emotion. All of it is welcome here, a part of our shared humanity. And we don't have to carry it alone. I'm going to invite one more. Raise your hand if you have had an instinct in the last several months to guard yourself in some way. To guard those you love, your home, your safety, your community, maybe even your own life. Yeah? Yeah, we also share this. And we're not alone in this desire to protect ourselves. I too have felt myself wanting to kind of hunker down and ask, who can I trust? These are natural human impulses to try and survive, and there's nothing wrong with them. And I want to talk about how that impulse can lead us to bunkers and borders and separate us from each other, and how it can lead us to take courageous risks and reach more profoundly for each other. And I want to invite us into the complexity of that instinct today, because it has both the capacity to divide us from each other and to draw us more closely together. Our desire to protect can compel us to build walls, and it can compel us to reach for the most vulnerable. And so this morning, I invite us into the rigorous spiritual work of discerning the difference between the two. Let's be in it together.
This morning's chalice reading is from Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt. May we meet one another in the spirit of care and together witness for a world transformed through liberating love. Let the sound of the bowl draw you into the place of quiet energy, a readiness to be open and curious, a place where your senses are alive yet still.
Would you please rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing this morning's opening hymn, number 132, found in our gray hymnal.
I invite any children or young at heart or mature in heart who love a good children's book to join me up front here on the rug. And the pictures, I think, will also be up here on the screen if you'd like to follow along this way. Would you like to come read a story with me today? Awesome. My name is Lucy. What's your name? Holly. Hey, Holly. And your name? Nora. And Emily. Good to see you all today. We're talking about something called empathy today, which really just means I can feel what you feel. Empathy is I can feel sadness like you feel sadness. I can feel happiness like you feel happiness. I can feel worried like you can feel worried. And that I can practice noticing and feeling with you when you feel those things. So there's a part in this book where Ruby shares her feeling with another person. And I'm wondering if you can follow along and spot that moment when it happens. See if you can find that moment where Ruby practices empathy, feeling with another person. Ruby loved being Ruby. She loved to swing up high, and she loved to explore wild, faraway places. Sometimes she even went all the way to the very bottom of the garden. Ruby was perfectly happy until one day she discovered a worry. Has anyone in here felt worried before? Yeah, me too. It wasn't a very big worry. It's rather small. In fact, it was so small that at first Ruby hardly noticed it. But then the worry started to grow, and each day it got a little bit bigger. It just wouldn't leave her alone. It was there at the breakfast, staring at her over the cereal box. And it was still there at night when she brushed her teeth. She looks kind of grumpy about it. The funny thing was that no one else could see Ruby's worry, not even her teacher. And so Ruby pretended that she couldn't see it either. She tried to carry on as if everything was normal. But it just wasn't. The worry was always there, stopping her from doing the things that she loved. Ruby wondered if the worry would ever go away. What if it didn't? What if it stayed with her forever? Ruby didn't realize it, but she was doing the worst thing you can ever do with a worry. She was worrying about it. Now the worry was enormous. It could barely fit in the kitchen at dinner time, and it filled up half the school bus. And it took up whole rows at the movie theater. The worry became the only thing that Ruby could think about, and it seemed like she would never feel happy again. And then one day, something unexpected happened. Ruby noticed a boy sitting alone at the park. He looked how she felt. Sad. And then she noticed something else, something hovering next to him. Could it be a worry? It was. Ruby realized that she wasn't the only person with a worry after all. Other people had them too. She asked the boy what was on his mind, and as he told her, the strangest thing happened. His worry began to shrink. And then Ruby did the best thing you can ever do if you have a worry. She talked about it. As the words tumbled out, Ruby's worry began to shrink until it was barely there at all. And soon both of their worries were gone. Finally, Ruby felt like herself again. Of course, that wasn't the last time she ever had a worry. Everyone gets them from time to time. But now that she knew how to get rid of them, they never hung around for too long. The end. So there's this moment in this story where the worry begins to shrink. And do you remember, why it shrank? What happened? Anyone can answer. She talked about it, yeah. And she shared it. And there was another person who could feel the same thing she was feeling, right? They could talk about how they were feeling the same thing, worry. And that helped them shrink the worry so that they could do other things and not only be worried all the time. That's what we call empathy, practicing feeling what another person is feeling and sharing in that feeling together so that we can move through them, move through the difficult and the uncomfortable feelings together. Yeah? All right. Thanks for sharing a story with me this morning. Would you like to look at the book?
May our offering sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and hope and know that our contributions will be used mindfully. Baskets are going to be passed around. They have two sides. The red side is for community outreach, which are many and varied. The blue side is for sustenance of the congregation. Our ways to give are shown on this slide. You can mail a check to the congregation. You can give on the UUCGT website. You can give through the Venco mobile app, which can be downloaded to your phone or iPad. Or you can make arrangements with your bank for a regular transfer to the UUCGT account. You may designate your gift as you choose for the congregation, for those in need, or for fulfilling your annual pledge. Recipients of our community support include wonderful organizations such as local food pantries, Safe Harbor, and the Women's Resource Center. Thank you so much.
We've now come to the time in our service where we share our joys and concerns. I'm Kelly McIntosh, a member of the Congregational Care Team. And I know there are others of us here today because we're setting out treats for everybody for after the service. So anybody in the hall here that is a member of, there we go. Yeah, we have a purple banner on our name pin, so feel free to search us out. We will be making coffee, setting out treats, cleaning up the kitchen, so you'll know where to find us today. It's our practice as a religious community to set aside time in our service to name and honor the joys and concerns that mark our lives, the milestones and moments of our lived experience. I will be sharing the joys and concerns that have been offered up for us to hold in our hearts today. If you have a joy or concern that is a bit too heavy, I invite you to reach out to Reverend Alex or Reverend Wendy, who is filling in for him while he's on his summer sabbatical, or any member of the Congregational Care Team. The ribbons will help you identify us. If your joy or concern is still raw and tender, we invite you to hold it in your heart as you are held in a loving community. And you can light a candle at any time during the service, because none of us is meant to travel life's journey alone. So now, here is what has been shared with us. Mostly joyful today. A joy. Last Friday marked 20 years of service since I opened Moore Automotive. For 2 decades, I have been blessed to do what I love and help people with their cars. All are invited to stop by Monday and Tuesday for a celebration with burgers and hot dogs from 11 to 1. A concern, Barb Bloomer fell last Sunday and bruised herself from head to knees. But the joy, she is healing through it all. She has a sense of humor that has endured. And another joy, for the community of morally like-minded neighbor congregations and the spiritual activists leading together the SALT group, supporting immigrant rights. So now let's hold a moment of silence for the joys and concerns that remain in our hearts.
I invite you into a spirit of prayer with me. Spirit of life, we gather up these joys and concerns, and we share them with one another because we trust that we can hold each other, that we can extend our care and we can receive care from one another. And we share them with you because we know that you hold us in an unconditional way. We lift up all that was spoken today and all that was left unspoken, knowing that you can hold both the heartache and the joy, that you can hold both the confusion and the worry and the awe, that you can hold anything that we may be feeling from hopelessness to exuberance, and that you come alongside us, accompanying us in the experience of what it means to be human. We invite that you continue to instruct us and teach our hearts about how to be more human humans together. That we might leave this place today knowing that as we're hurting, others hurt alongside us. And as we celebrate, others celebrate alongside us. We give thanks to the land, to the water, to spirit. And we give thanks to the powerful, transforming nature of what it means to be in community. May these things continue to sustain us in the weeks ahead. Amen. We'll be singing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. Yeah.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
An excerpt from Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. When a parent's when a parent's stability disintegrates, as it must, God is change. People tend to give in to fear and depression, to need and greed. When no influence is strong enough to unify people, they divide. They struggle. One against one, group against group, for survival, position, power. They remember old hates and generate new ones. They create chaos and nurture it. They kill and kill and kill, until they are exhausted and destroyed, until they are conquered by outside forces, or until one of them becomes the leader. Most will follow, or a tyrant most fear. An excerpt from The Body is a Doorway by Sophie Strand. Let us join hands, and then let our hands melt together, permanently, terrifyingly fused. Let us honor our wounds as invitations to risky collaborations we might otherwise not attempt. Let us acknowledge that to be correct is to be isolated. To be incorrect is to be relational. Survival is never safe. It is always a breach, a break in the skin.
Thank you, Renee. In the earth seed verses from the Parable of the Sower that Renee just read, written by Octavia Butler, she begins, I want to read the opening section again, by saying, when a parent's stability disintegrates, as it must, God is change. People tend to give in to fear and depression, to need and greed, when no influence is strong enough to unify people. Here's my question I'm in and I bring you today. What would it look like to fight for the idea that if we survive together? Could that idea be, in Octavia's words, an influence strong enough to unify us when stability disintegrates? If we survive together. And could empathy, the experience of sharing the feelings of another, to feel what another feels, could empathy be a core practice to teach us how to recenter in that idea when things get shaky? If we survive together. These are the questions I've been in this week. And I want to explore them with you this morning. I'm going to find something to hold my paper because I'm tall. Let me try this. There we go. You know, I tend to have the experience of when I call in a question or an idea for a sermon, these little conversations pop up in the weeks leading up to that time, and they're always such a gift. It helps me feel for the terrain that I'm in, and there were two that popped up really unexpectedly this week, and I want to share those conversations with you. The first was with my friend Britt, who was at a gathering with me recently, and when we were invited to speak prayers and intentions into this space, she spoke a prayer about having compassion for those who were creating great harm in the world. And as she said it, you could feel for the way that the invitation just dropped into the space. You could feel the impact of it, and it just kind of hung there for all of us to wrestle with and struggle with. And this week she came, and she was reflecting on her own experience, and she came to me and she said, "How did that land for you? I'm not sure how to say that to a group of people without excusing the harm that people are causing. How do I talk about the fact that I deeply believe we need to extend compassion even to those who are creating great harm without excusing what they are doing?" She was worried about how others received her prayer and how to find the right words to say this hard thing. And the piece that I invite you to orient to by sharing this story is to simply notice the risk. The risk that she felt in her own body by speaking such a prayer into a room of people in the political climate that we live in. The risk of claiming empathy and compassion as a path through. The other conversation I had this week was with someone named Carrie, who's a part of a group called Weaving New Ritual. And she was talking about how she had been tracking the news of the floods in Texas. And she had kind of done a deep dive of research. She was just really fascinated about the people who were affected by the flood and wanted to learn more. And she really, got drawn toward the camp, of course. And she was like, what is this camp? Who is this camp? Who are these folks that have been affected? Who are these children who have died? And in her reading, she learned that this camp is a conservative Christian camp that has been attended for decades by the children of powerful right-wing elites who have made and are continuing to make incredibly harmful decisions on behalf of our communities. And what she was reflecting on as she was researching was just how hard it was for her to access her own empathy. That it was there, she could feel the seed of it. She was like, this is the moral compass I know I'm supposed to follow. And right alongside that, she was like, oh, I feel the risk. I feel the risk of extending that compassion to this group of people. It's like how, if I risk feeling your pain, it might actually soften me somehow to the harm that you're doing, I think is the fear. If I risk feeling your pain, it might actually make me more vulnerable to the harm itself. And what I invite you to notice in her story is just how much our anger and our fear really separate us from each other, from our capacity to hold on to this part of our humanity. And I'm incredibly grateful for Carrie's vulnerability with me this week because I can resonate with what she expressed to me. And I invite you to ask the question of yourself this morning, how is she me? How is she me? Where or how am I in a struggle to practice empathy? There's a good reason for us to guard against this empathy. There's a lot of horror in the world. And we're in a time where that is increasing daily. I could list the many ways people are experiencing violence right now and why our bodies are very intelligently trying to protect us from all of that, how very smart our bodies are. But what I want to share with you instead is some of what I've learned this week about what's underneath all of that violence. I was reading more about the kind of political rhetoric we're experiencing and the particular flavor of fascism that experts are trying to give language to. And underneath all of that, there's this narrative that's building. And I want to talk about that so that we can resist it. It feels important to give our attention to what's driving the violence rather than just the violence itself. We have to do both, actually. But I want to give our attention and not forget to pay attention to what's underneath the violence so we can have skillful and effective interventions as people who love people and the planet. Naomi Klein and Astra Taylor wrote a piece recently in The Guardian reflecting on what's shaping our current iteration of fascism here in the United States, and they dubbed it the end times fascism. And the prevailing idea is that those on the far right who are governing our country, not only through government, but also through big tech and media moguls and religious institutions, all share one thing in common. That they know that we are in an age of collapse and crisis. They actually admit that. And they will do everything that they can do to prevent or protect themselves from that collapse and crisis. There's a bunker mentality that's consistent across these folks, these institutions. Even if their expressions of how to navigate that collapse, how to navigate that crisis, diverge. There's a consistent bunker mentality. So they diverge in these ways. Elon Musk wants to colonize Mars, right? Steve Bannon wants the United States to be a bunker nation that doesn't allow anyone in or out who isn't white and Christian. Mark Zuckerberg has built a $270 million bunker for himself and his family in Hawaii. And Peter Thiel and Sam Altman have an arrangement to take off on a jet to New Zealand in the case of an apocalyptic event. And what fuels Thiel's preparations is an end times Christian theology in which he believes Greta Thunberg is the Antichrist. These are all documented things that have been said. I can help you find them if you're interested. What they are sharing is a desire to stockpile for civilizational collapse. There's like this mentality of we gotta bunker ourselves against everything that's falling apart. And as Taylor and Klein write in their article, you don't need to be a biblical literalist or even religious to be an end times fascist. Today, plenty of powerful secular people have embraced a vision of the future that follows a nearly identical script, one in which the world as we know it collapses under its weight and a chosen few survive. They thrive in various kinds of arcs, bunkers, and gated freedom cities. Here's the thing. These elites know that this is not palatable for the masses. And so the Christian nationalist theology of the far right is helping to take care of that for them. Vice President J.D. Vance ascribes to the medieval Christian concept of ordo amoris, which is translated as order of love or order of charity. And this article describes it. It's like love is only owed to those who are inside of the bunker, and it's not owed to anyone who's outside the bunker. You love those who are close in first, and maybe eventually get to those who are farther out in the world. That idea is not contained, though, only to the Christian right or to conservative Christian theology. Musk has also described empathy as weak and suicidal. Mark Zuckerberg believes big tech needs a culture of more aggression. And best-selling books called Toxic Empathy and The Sin of Empathy are being digested by the thousands, by the secular and by those on the Christian right. This is a narrative strategy that is meant to normalize selfishness, rugged individualism, and every person for themselves, to excuse the wealthy and the powerful for their land grabs and their government takeovers, all in service of creating bunkers for themselves at the expense of the masses. What these powerful humans have bet on is that we will accept this story. The idea that we're better off on our own, that we will betray our commitments to each other, that will betray our capacity to feel each other's pain or extend care toward one another. They've bet against our humanity. They've also bet, sort of mind-bogglingly so, they have bet against one of the most powerful virtues in human history across spiritual traditions, empathy. They're betting against it. It's the spiritual legacy of empathy that we can actually lean on, I think, to interrupt this narrative. As you use, I'm sure you are familiar with how this lives across world religions and traditions. In the Christian scriptures of my tradition, we read, "Rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep." Empathy. Let each of you not look only to your own interests, but to the interests of others. Empathy. And of course, let us not forget the shortest verse in the Bible. Do you know it? Jesus wept. Jesus wept. The clarity and brevity. He wept. He felt the loss of another as his own, and he wept. There are many other teachings I don't have the experience or the expertise to teach on in depth, but I want to call them to mind. The Hindu principle of ahimsa, nonviolence or non-injury to all living beings, a fundamental virtue in Hinduism that extends care and love to all of life, not an order, to all of life. The Buddhist understands empathy as the gateway to compassion. In other words, we cannot extend compassion unless we feel empathy. It is because we have the capacity to feel each other that we're able to skillfully extend care. Yeah? Jewish people blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, and they invite the cries and the sobs of their enemies' loved ones to penetrate their soul. Empathy. This morning we read the verses from a novel considered by many to be a sacred text, the parable of the sower. And it's not only prophetic, I think, but a wisdom text as well. It's set in the context of apocalypse. If you haven't read it yet, now is a great time. The story begins in the year, anyone know? 2024. It was written in 1993, and the story begins in 2024. I highly recommend the read now. The main character, Lauren, has a condition called hyperempathy. Her empathy is so intense that she becomes debilitated when viewing others' pain, and she even bleeds when she sees others bleed. After a particularly difficult chapter in which she experiences the loss of a family member from incomprehensible violence, she reflects, people wouldn't be capable of this much harm if they could feel each other's pain more. She writes, if everyone could feel everyone else's pain, who would torture? Who would cause anyone any unnecessary pain? Where these elites have bet against us is our opportunity for intervention. If they are relying on our willingness to adopt the ideas that we're better off on our own, that there's an order to love and that empathy is weak, then one place we can disrupt their power is to undermine that bet. So I return to my opening question, where are you in a struggle to practice empathy? To stay connected to this part of your humanity. It's okay to admit that it's happening. You're not alone in that either. I want to close with one more short story and a quick embodied practice. Just to share a little bit more about how I'm trying to practice this in these days. And also an embodied practice because it's different to know a thing, like to know the virtue that we're supposed to embody. And it's a different thing to actually embody it. yeah, or practice it. So first, a short story about a place that I surprisingly practiced a little bit of empathy. I surprised myself this week, and I want to share it because it's really, 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 really small. And that's where we can start. I was sitting with my children at a lemonade stand that they had created on the Tart Trail, and a man came up to order a couple of glasses. And immediately he proceeded to chide them about whether or not they could do the math for the change that they owed him. And then when my son went to serve him his glass of lemonade, the man fervently jumped in and instructed him about how to hold the cup properly so he didn't spread any germs. This man, very quickly wound his way into my imagination as a guy who thinks he has a lot to teach my children, even though he has no relationship with them. The defensiveness on behalf of my kids rose, and my judgment of him and me rose. And he reached across the table to finally pour his own glass of lemonade, and he spilled a glass all over the tablecloth and the vase of flowers that they had so lovingly created. And the "I have everything to teach you" posture in him vanished in an instant. And he started fumbling over apologies and trying to figure out how to mop up his mess. I wish I had a towel. I'm on my bike. I don't have a towel. He was just fumbling. And he fumbled a minute or two before we finally got him a glass of lemonade, and he and his wife mounted their bikes, and as they started to bike away, I heard him say, "Oh, I feel like such a moron." But I want to tell you about the moment just before he biked away. Because in all of the fumbling and apologies, there was this moment where I paused, and I was able to say to him, "It's okay, sir. We all make mistakes. It's okay, we make mistakes." I'm not sure how available he was to really receive that offer. But what I'm reflecting on is, where did my capacity come from to be able to say such a thing? Yeah? And I think it came in part from my ability to see that he felt embarrassed. I couldn't even cognitively put it into words in the moment. I wouldn't even be able to say, "Here's what's happening in me." But as I'm reflecting on it now, I'm realizing, there was a felt sense. I could feel in my own body what it's like to knock over a glass of lemonade. I could feel in my own body, I've knocked over a glass of lemonade or water or milk or wine many times in my life. And I could feel that embarrassment in me. And from that place, I was able to say, "It's okay. Sometimes we make mistakes." I offer this example in part because I want to stress the importance of what it means for us to build culture when we practice at this small of a level. Yeah, this fractal. It would be revolutionary if we all learned as children that, in fact, we will make mistakes, and we get to still belong to each other on the other side. Can you imagine what the world would be like? It would be revolutionary if, as children, we all learned to practice feeling each other's embarrassment and then come alongside each other in that embarrassment. Can you imagine what would be different about our world? These fractal moments, these small slices of practicing something different, is one way we keep turning toward each other, and as we do, we rewrite the stories in our culture that govern our lives. It's no longer me against them, but if we survive together. We belong to each other. Right now, we're in a reckoning about a disagreement we have about the best way to survive. Build a bunker, you're on your own, keep your families close. Or we survive when we take care of each other. You have something I don't have, we can share. If we survive at all, it's because we have survived together. The great movement strategist out of Detroit, Michigan, Grace Lee Boggs, said, once the correct ideas are grasped by the masses, they become a material force capable of changing society and the world. Could we be a fight for the idea that if we survive together? If a key pillar of bunker mentality is to kill empathy, then leaning into the spiritual legacy of empathy feels like a lifeline to cut through that despair and that fear that we are living in together. So if you're game, I would love to just try on a very short practice, because we can hear and think about all of these things here, and it's very different to practice them here. So I'm going to invite you for about 60 seconds to turn to a neighbor and share in 1 or 2 words a mood that you have right now. And you can opt out of this practice, so I'm telling you what we're going to do so you can decide if you want to do it. If there's someone who wants to opt out, just tell your neighbor and find a trio. Let me invite you to pause and turn toward each other. Find who your buddy is. And if you decide to not practice with a buddy, you can still be in your own experience of feeling yourself here. So before you share, hold on. Has everyone started? Woo-hoo. Okay, we're not ready yet. I'm just inviting you to find your buddy. Decide who's partner A. Raise your hand if you're partner A. Okay, partner A is going to go first. The person not raising their hand is partner B. Okay? Decide who's partner A. And the invitation is this. Partner A is going to say 1 or 2 words about what you're feeling. And partner B is going to just witness and receive that feeling without responding with words. And partner B is also going to ask, what does my body know about that mood? So a mood could be something like, I feel scared, I feel bored, I feel confused, I feel excited, I feel sad. And as you receive whatever mood is coming, ask yourself, what does my body know about that mood that this person is sharing? And try not to exchange other words. Yeah? So partner A, feel for what mood is my body in right now? Can I give 1 or 2 words to the mood my body is in right now? And then I invite you to turn to partner B and share that mood. Really try to keep it to 1 or 2 words. And partner B, just listen and feel with them. Just listen and feel with them. What does my body know about the mood they just said? Yeah? Okay, now we're going to switch. There's a lot of talking still happening. We talk, or we feel with our words, but we also feel with our bodies. And I'm really inviting you to feel with your body. Partner B, identify 1 or 2 words to describe your mood, your current mood. Share that in 1 or 2 words, and partner A, just listen. Just receive, witness, and feel, what do I know about that mood in me? Yeah? Go ahead, partner B, share your mood, 1 or 2 words. And if you have a trio, go ahead and let that third person speak their mood into your trio. And then I invite us to just get really quiet for a moment. Maybe notice how hard it is to not say more words. No bad, no wrong. Just inviting us to practice feeling, just feeling the other person. And so just take a moment here in the quiet and reflect, like, what did I feel in me? What was I able to share? What wasn't I able to share? Something to notice, no bad, no wrong. And what did I witness? And could I connect to what I heard from the other person? Could I feel what the other person shared in me somehow? Yeah? And just be in the curiosity of, like, what would it be like for me to try that on once a day over the next 7 days? To pause and listen and be like, oh, can I feel what this person's saying to me? Can I just feel it? And then feel for how I know something about what is true about what they're saying to me is, like, alive and in me also. Yeah? Thank you for practicing with me today. Thank you for feeling with me today. Amen.
Were there any announcements before we move into our final hymn? Any announcements? Yes.
We have a mural that's going to be painted at our church, the Presbyterian Church of Traverse City, the Anishinaabe people.
Wonderful.
And the theme is "We are one people." It's a mural for racial justice. So arriving today and tomorrow are a group of artists, some from South America, from Central America,
Wow.
and some Anishinaabe from North America. That will be the team that paint the mural. So I have joy about that, but also concern because three of the artists from South America and Central America are Spanish speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And with the conditions in our today's world, we want to make sure they're protected. They don't end up in South Sudan or somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So both a joy and a concern.
Thank you.
And we'd like to invite you to come by.
Yeah, the grand opening will be August 14th. If you have an interest at the Presbyterian Church, where the barrel will be revealed.
And between now and then, you can come by and watch them paint.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Mary.
For anybody who is available at 4 o'clock on Thursday, we'll be gathering because Good Trouble does live on
And where's the gathering, Mary?
at Rotary Square.
Rotary Square on Thursday at 4 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay, Good Trouble Gathering. Anything else? All right, I'll pass it over.
Would you please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn from the Teal Hymnal, number 1021, Lean on Me. Sometimes in our lives we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on
We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts into the world until we meet again.
Beloveds, go in the fullness of your humanity with all your feeling parts. Yeah? With the parts of you that struggle to love, and with the fullness of your heart. With the parts of you that are hurting, and with the capacity to receive care. With the parts of you that are hopeless, and the parts that are still full of hope. When you need someone to help you feel, ask. When someone asks, feel with them. And remember that in all of that complexity, spirit and land hold us, even when we fail to hold each other. Amen.